nice, huh? All right, Sons of Italy. Let's go in. Very excited. Come on, guys. All right. Let's do it up. It's a beautiful place. Nice? Yeah. Feed the geese later.
My name is Christine Vitale, and I'm sitting here tonight at the Sons of Italy meeting, the Tri-Valley Lodge 2829 Sons of Italy meeting in Bergenfield, New Jersey, on behalf of wfdu-fm. My name is Christine Vitale, and I am sitting here with Johnny DeCarlo, Mr. Johnny Meatballs himself, who's built his own business. He's a young entrepreneur, an Italian-American, and we're really proud to have him here. He's got a big story to tell, and I'm so glad that he's sharing this night with us here. How are you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me here.
It's good that you decided to, build this meatball enterprise because it seems like things are really taking off. Tell me, when did you first get interested in the idea of food? When did food become your passion?
Food became my passion from the day I was born. I mean, I grew up with food. Food was everywhere in the house, growing up. Dinner time, lunchtime, it was like the time where we all talked and got together, and it was like just natural for me to make it a profession.
Well, when did you actually start making it a profession? Because as far as I know from my short history and knowing you, to the extent that I do, I don't recall that meatballs were actually a business for you until recent times. I seem to recall a prior food business, Bonnie and Clydes. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about that?
That was actually a catering company that I had done for a while there with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. And it kind of branched out into the Johnny Meatballs thing. The meatballs became the focus. Everybody wanted the meatballs, so it just totally took over.
So then, when did you actually start working toward building a food enterprise or a catering enterprise? And what were you doing before then?
I was doing a lot of different things. I mean, I had a lot of different jobs, and to me, it always went back to food. I always felt like unfulfilled with any kind of job that I had that didn't circle around food. So I decided to go into this catering business. Prior to that, I was selling popcorn, so that was a food business. So I always was involved in food somehow. And I did the Bonnie and Clyde thing, and then, like I said, the people just went nuts over the meatballs because it's a family recipe, and it totally took over, so I just became Johnny Meatballs. So it was, it was just a natural thing. It was an easy transition for me.
So you take this family recipe and you Johnify the meatballs. I've heard you say that. I've listened to you on radio.
Yeah.
I've heard you talking about your meatballs. You Johnify them. Explain what Johnifying means.
Johnify actually is when I just make it my own. I take elements of my grandmother's recipe and my own twists on it. And it's something I've been doing for a while now where I caramelize my onions in the meatball recipe. So before I put them in, I actually saute them, get them nice and brown and sweet, and then I add them into the meatball mix. So it adds a total new dimension to the meatballs.
Okay, so are you willing to divulge all your ingredients, though? I mean, your whole recipe.
You're going to have to buy the cookbook for that.
But, okay, and that's another thing. You have a book coming out.
Yes.
Is that the cookbook you're referring to, or is your book something bigger, and what's it called?
It is bigger. It's actually called My Big Friggin' Book. It's a big book, autobiographical, and it's all about stories about growing up Jersey Italian, and it has a lot of recipes, so that's coming out May 11th.
Jersey Italian, everybody, right here. It's really fantastic that you've got so many things going on. I know I jumped ahead of things by talking about the book because there's so much that's been happening that's led up to this book. And I know the book is not the one and only thing. You've got so much happening. And in this last year or so, I know a lot of things have happened. First of all, why don't you tell us what's been going on in this last year?
Well, in the last year, I got married. I had my wife had a baby, so I have a new son who's 8 months old, and of course the building of the business, which started out, basically cooking meatballs in the house to really growing and expanding into them being packaged and sold commercially in stores, and we're just taking it to the next level. We're going to be creating a meatball cart, the world's first mobile meatball cart, the Johnny Meatballs on a roll, and that's going to be everywhere this spring and summer. So that's the next venture.
Okay, and this whole past summer, though, I keep backing up. You keep moving ahead. I keep going back the other way because I'm interested in the whole thing, how it started and how it happened. But you started appearing at festivals, like street fairs and that sort of thing. And how did you begin to get in demand? I know you also go to maybe restaurants and you do appearances there where they have a Johnny Meatballs Day. Tell us a little bit about those things, because I'm very interested in what the steps are that takes you to get, a lot of things are happening really fast, and I want to know how these things are happening and the progress that they're happening in.
Well, for me, it's all about marketing and constant self-promotion. That's why I am Johnny Meatballs. So it's like basically you always want to go someplace and be Johnny Meatball. That's who I am. I'm all about the meatballs. So whether it's about the book, or whether it's about TV or radio or music, whatever, or food, it's always around the Johnny Meatballs empire. That's what I call it, the Johnny Meatballs empire.
I see. So now, let me say a few other things here. You've done this television show. You were on a reality television show, My Big Freaking Wedding.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that experience and how you found out about that and what made you think to go on it. Was this something that you thought, this is really going to help my meatball empire grow?
I did. The whole thing with the show, it was a reality show about planning the ultimate East Coast Italian-style wedding. And when I saw the ad for the show, I was engaged to be married, so it was only natural that I sign up for it. I didn't even tell my fiance at the time. I just kind of did it on a whim. And I told her, I was like, honey, I have something to tell you, because I got the call first. You guys have got to come in and audition. And I was like, honey, we have to go to Long Island on Sunday for an audition for a TV show. And we got picked right on the spot. And from the day that we began filming the show, I made it a point to incorporate something about meatballs into every scene that I was in.
Smart thinking.
So it was, of course, a wedding show, but the whole Johnny Meatballs thing kind of took over a lot of the time.
That was smart thinking on your part, for sure. And your wife, your lovely wife, Megan, who I know is somewhere in the back of the room.
She's in the back row there.
Okay.
She's by the meatballs. Right
She's,
now.
yeah, and
Guarding them.
has she been really supportive and helpful to you in your building your business?
She has been. It's not. It's been a tough road. So I don't want to say that it was easy. There were a lot of different things that happened, but not everything worked out right away. Like I'm always trying to branch out into different directions. The way I look at it is, if you have something with music or something with TV, you get a lot of different things going. You have the jackets, which I made on the TV show, the Johnny Meatballs gear. So it's like you always have different streams. So if one fails, you have something else.
Yeah, you are definitely a multi-level, I shouldn't say multi-level, multimedia marketeer. And one of the things that I admire about you, and I had to learn this eventually, because actually when you and I first became friends, so to speak, it was actually on MySpace. Remember MySpace?
Wow, that was a while back. Yeah, MySpace is like obsolete now. But.
Right. So we were friends on MySpace, and the only reason why I befriended you, I thought, well, this is a young Italian-American guy. Let's see if he has an interest. Let me learn what these younger people are like, because I'm involved in the Sons of Italy Tri-Valley Lodge, and I often notice that we have a difficult time engaging younger folks to be a part of such a lodge. And I thought that if I befriended you, this would be a way to get to know someone who's younger and learn more what they're like and what they're about, to see if I could feel them out if they have an interest in lodges and Italian-American organizations. And I never really got that far in getting to know you personally, but there seems to be a discord between the younger generation or younger generations and its established Italian-American organizations. Why do you think that is, and what are some of your views about Italian-American organizations such as Sons of Italy or others, Unico, let's say, and I know that there's others, but what are your views, and how do you feel about these organizations? Because I also know you have had to defend yourself against them. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, I think a lot of these organizations tend to put all the younger generation into one lump. You have your Jersey Shore, of course, which is the most popular show out there. Let's face it. So someone may see me who may resemble slightly a cast member. I don't have a six-pack or anything like that, but, they may see and think that I'm into that whole lifestyle. So I think that's why there's a little bit of a gap. So once I sit down with somebody like you and I explain, what I do and stuff like that, I think then I become a little more accepted. I don't know. Am I in? What do you tell me?
Well, with me, you're in, but I'm not of the old guard, so there's a difference. I'm not someone who feels that everyone has to behave one way in order to be part of an Italian-American association of any kind. I think there's room for individuality. I do understand that through generations, things do change. But these Italian-American established organizations cling to certain values that they'd like to see upheld. And I know that with many of them, they find it disturbing because, first of all, it's hard to interest young Italian Americans into these organizations where it seems like that's the only place these values stay connected. We stay connected as a community because since Italian Americans have assimilated, we don't really have our neighborhoods the way that we once did. So I think we feel we're losing, and I say we because I'm a part of this organization, but I don't necessarily identify with everybody. I don't believe we're monolithic in this regard where we all think exactly the same way. But I think many Italian Americans, especially of older generations, feel we're losing our identity. We're losing our cultural values. How do you feel about that? We feel it takes Italian American organizations to maintain a community. And if you're not a part of that community, then we have no future. How do you feel about that?
Personally, for me, I think it all starts in the home. I mean, that's just me. I think where you grow up, the neighborhood may change, but it's all about your family. It's all about keeping up the traditions within your family. And that's really what the whole Johnny Meatballs thing is all about. It's bringing back that Sunday dinner experience, waking up to the macaroni and the Sunday gravy and the meatballs. That's what I grew up with, and I plan to continue that and have my kids continue that. So I think as long as you do that, you're okay.
So then how does it feel to come under criticism, as I know you have, such as with Unico, who saw you, the president of Unico, who happens to be one of my good friends, who saw you on my big freaking wedding and really launched an attack on you, and I know you, in return, retaliated. Why don't you talk about how that went?
Andre Domino, I assume you're referring to?
Yes, Andre Domino.
I actually was kind of taken back when he singled me out from the cast of My Big Friggin' Wedding and said that Johnny Meatballs, he's the worst for Italians, he's the worst character on the show, this and that. And, there were 9 other people on that program besides me that did way worse things than I did. I mean, I wasn't out, I had a bachelor party, but, I didn't get too crazy. Some of the other ones really were nuts. At the end of the day, my storyline was about building my business, my son, my baby, and all that kind of thing. And there was a lot that wasn't shown on the show about my life. Obviously, you're filming for 6 months, and they can't include every minute of footage. So there was a lot that wasn't shown, so maybe he got the wrong impression about me. And I have asked him to have a sit-down conversation like we're having now, but he refused. I wasn't being, aggressive in any way. I was just saying, let's sit down and talk this out over some meatballs. But he didn't want to do it,
Okay.
I don't know why. If he still wants to, I would love to.
Well, actually, he has told me, no, he's not here tonight. I invited him to be here, but he said to me that he would like to meet up with you at another time. In fact, he gave me this to give to you. It's his card, and on the back of the card is a note from him. So I know that he does respect the fact that you're an entrepreneur. I just think he has some views that maybe conflict somewhat with yours, and maybe you should meet him and speak with him and resolve your differences and see if maybe you can come to a mutual point of respect.
I think we really need to bridge the gap between, folks like Mr. Domino and myself. We need to bridge that gap in the Italian-American community. There should not be any infighting in the heritage. I mean, a lot of other nationalities have gaps, but it just seems our gap is very far and very dirty.
Well, I think I can understand what you mean, because I will say that there is a lot of there are a lot of stereotypes within the Italian-American community, and one of them is we're not very good at supporting one another, and we seem to have a problem supporting each other and don't want to see each other succeed. Now, when I say this, I know there's exceptions to the rule, naturally. In fact, I invited you here because I believe in what you're doing, and I want you to succeed. I believe in supporting that, but you can't think that you're going to come here and I'm not going to ask you some of these sticky questions. So, and I hope you're not going to pull a Chris Brown on us.
No,
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 I don't want you to do that.
Or breaking windows or anything like that.
Okay. I am very interested, though, in the fact that you take this multimedia approach and you make videos, you go on reality television. I know you write a blog. Tell us more about some of the other things that you're doing to help build your empire.
24/7, I'm doing something to build the empire. My mind is always going with different schemes and ideas, and it's like the honeymooners, where I always have an idea, and my wife is putting up with it, but they're going to work out in the end, because, like I said, you have to have different streams of ideas. It's like a tree. You have to have every branch. So if you have music, television, maybe movies someday for me, I don't know. I'm into everything. That's what I think an entrepreneur should be, really.
Okay, but do you feel that if you spread yourself too thin, are you going to jeopardize the meatball business?
I will never sacrifice the quality of the meatballs. To me, that's my first priority, because I want to make sure that the meatballs are always the best that they could be. And if they're not, they don't go out the door. I watch every single meatball rolled, and if they're not perfect, they don't go out the door.
Are you still making them out of your home, or do you have a commercial kitchen?
We're at Star Ravioli in Moonachie, and we're fully USDA certified, and it's packaged out of Star and sold in Corrados and different local markets.
You must have had to jump through a lot of hoops to make that happen, because I know how bureaucratic some of these laws could be. There's got to be a lot of legislation and a lot of red tape to cut through in order for this to happen. I'm sure that this had to be a bit of a strain on your new marriage, your family, in order to make these things happen. I'm sure it's stressful at times. Are there a lot of arguments with respect to this?
There are, and it is stressful. I mean, I thought I would just walk into Star Ravioli and, present this idea, and then the next day I'd be making meatballs. I had no idea how to go through all this government regulation and supervision and get a HACCP plan. I didn't know anything about that. So it was a long road, a long process. And we still, get into it now and then, me and Megan. So, God bless her that she's still with me and putting up with all my shenanigans.
Well, you definitely have a beautiful wife who does seem to be very supportive of you. At least that's the public image that we have of her. Because, and I'm sure it's got to be very difficult, but I applaud you, Megan, and also you, Johnny, for taking, doing something to build an empire. If you weren't doing this, what else would you be doing?
I don't know. I'd probably be, bouncing around from job to job and just finding your niche. And this whole Johnny Meatballs thing is definitely my niche, because I feel in my element with the whole Johnny Meatballs, whatever it may be. Even here, I feel very, comfortable and everything like that. So that's why it's working for me. So this is my niche, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay, we're going to turn it over to the audience. If anybody in the audience has any questions. Any questions from anyone?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let me just repeat the question. Were you ever challenged with your meatball recipe, such as on TV, like with Bobby Flay, where they do the meatball throwdown?
Actually, I believe so strongly in my meatballs that I, propose the challenges. And I've proposed the challenge to Bobby Flay and his protege, Mr. Saucy Balls, who you might have seen on NBC. And neither have responded to my throwdown request as of yet. But I'm willing to take down anybody, anytime. And I have won a few local competitions at Chef Central. There are videos of that on my YouTube page.
Okay, all right, Bob Gallione.
Yeah, just a comment on
How about that, the Bocce League and the whole thing?
I love that. I love bocce. I usually play with my friend on Sundays. So, I mean, to do it in an organized league, I would enjoy it very much.
Yes, Joe Scalora.
Okay, we got two questions now since Bob brought up the bocce.
The question is, what is your take on Jersey Shore?
See, Jersey Shore is not something that I necessarily can relate to at this point in my life. I may be the same age as those guys. They are actually in their late 20s, early 30s, some of them, if you look up, But that's not where I'm at. I have a wife. I have 2 kids. I'm married. I have a business. So it's not like I could sit around at the boardwalk partying or doing any of that stuff. So, I mean, that for me is not my lifestyle. It never really was, to be honest with you. I was never into that whole scene.
Do you find, though, that they present Italian Americans in a negative way, the way that they've come under such criticism for, much like the way you have in your big freaking wedding reality show?
Well, the thing with my show, it's actually from the same producers of Jersey Shore, so a lot of people linked the 2 shows together, but it was very different, my show and Jersey Shore, because my show was more of the progression of the Jersey Shore life. What happens when you move out, get married, have your own family, that kind of thing. So, that was the differences with that.
But do you find, though, I'm still trying to get to the heart of this question, do you find that they are a scar on our culture?
I'm not here to play TV critic or judge or anything like that, because then I would be just like Andre Domino, no offense. But I don't think it's his place to sit there and do that, and it's not my place either. I'm looking to get along with everybody. Everybody does their own thing, and as long as you're not, committing murder or doing crimes like that, I don't see what's so terrible. We're not talking about the whole mob thing here. We're talking about this is their Jersey Shore culture or whatever. Might not be me, but that's them. So the only thing I could do is be me.
Okay, I could respect that. Any other questions from there? We have questions in a basket. Would you like to pull a question? Pass the basket around? Okay, Carla Ferrara has a question. Okay, the question is, do you feel Italian Americans are represented fairly in the media?
I think there's not enough representation of Italian Americans in the media. And it seems that any time one pops up, it causes a whole knee-jerk reaction from a lot of the organizations that automatically equate it to something bad. And when I had my dialogue with Andre Domino initially, I had made a point to him that there was a time when Unico protested the game Super Mario Brothers because they called his mustache racist. And that, to me, was over the top. So you need more representation in movies and music and television to get a better scope of things.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. The question is, do you use breadcrumbs or bread in your meatballs?
I use breadcrumbs, and I have a trick with the breadcrumbs that, as I said, you'll find out in the cookbook. Or you could try figuring out tonight when you eat them, because they are getting hot over there. So I want everybody to enjoy them.
Are you giving away your actual recipe? Because I think most people wouldn't do that. you want to monopolize here, right? You want the market cornered on your recipe. If everybody's able to produce your exact recipe, then we don't need you anymore.
Well, the thing is, I like to share, my recipes with everybody. I don't want to, hold out on anything except a couple of spices. I do hold out.
Secrets. You keep a couple of secrets.
I have a special 10-spice blend, and I only reveal 5 of the 10 that are actually in the meatballs in the book. So.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. At least then I know he's protecting his, what would you say, your brand, your style. Okay, any other questions? I know there's a basket moving around the room if anybody wants to. The question is, did your family back you when you wanted to start in this meatball business? Did they back you, or did you have any conflicts?
Well, my family is pretty supportive in everything I do. They did tell me years ago, learn a trade or something like that, and that kind of went by the wayside. So, now as an adult, they didn't really sway me in either direction, but they were supportive. My parents speaking, for them.
Okay, so better late than never. At least you caught on to something. And that's actually not late because you're still quite young. And this is not, it's not too late to start on something new. I mean, many people do this even decades after, who are older than you, 10, 15, 20 years older than you are. They'd start on a new career. So you may not have done this when you were 20, but you're certainly got a long horizon ahead of you. And I wish you really well with your business and everything that you choose to do. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. This is Christine Vitale from wfdu-fm, and I'm also the president of the Tri-Valley Lodge Sons of Italy in America.
Hey, this is Johnny Meatballs, the Meatball King of New Jersey, and this is my new song, the Meatball Song.
Hey, Johnny, why are your meatballs so special?
Why? Let me take you back to my house on a Sunday afternoon.
I'm gonna tell you this, come on over, give me a kiss. Time to sing a little song that you don't wanna miss. When I cook a meal for you, there's something you must do. Have some fun and dance a little till the kitchen's like a zoo. Every Sunday's when